Today we're going to be doing a review of the FlySky FS-i6 controller. This controller we got from banggoods.com. It took about 3 weeks to ship, and it comes with a FSI-A6B receiver, which is a 6-channel receiver that works and functions just like any other Spectrum receiver would. Now without further ado, let's get into the unboxing and review of this controller. So we got that open here. We're just going to go ahead and open this up, and let's go ahead and take out what's inside. Okay. So it looks like all we got inside there is got an instruction manual. This is a quick start guide, just an easy way to get up and going with your controller. And then of course we have the controller itself. This is inside a kind of plastic covering. There's a little bit of dirt and scratches on it, but other than that it is perfectly nice looking. The last thing is a little tiny plastic bag with our receiver in there. Okay, so we have a bind plug, and this just goes into a certain slot on here. We'll go through that in a bit, but for now we'll set that off to the side. Here's the controller. So you can see it has about 4 switches and then these little spinny things, whatever you want to call those. So it doesn't have batteries in it if I try to power it on. Other than that, there's a thing back here where we're going to have to put in our 4 AA batteries. So we got our batteries here. We're just going to go ahead and put these in. Now what we should be able to do is we should be able to simply power on the controller and start the binding process if we want to bind. Now the first thing that you do need to note is that the controller will yell at you if you have all the switches down. You have to make sure your throttle's down and your switches are all up. So now that's all true, it boots up, and let's go ahead and get into how you bind this to a plane and how to set up your receiver to your controller. Okay, so in order to bind your plane to your controller, actually when you first get it, the receiver that your controller comes with is pre-bound to the controller. So it's pretty simple if you have to do that. If you have to bind it, basically all you're going to do is you're going to stick your bind plug into the bind slot right here. You can see that. It's the very left if you're looking at it with antennas facing down. Put it into there, put in your ESC to the channel 3 port, then power on with a battery. Go ahead and power your controller on while holding down this button, which is your bind button, and then it'll bind to your controller. But since it's pre-bound, we're just going to do it like that. So basically all we have to do is we have to plug in our ESC to channel 3 on our receiver. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so we're going to take this and we're going to insert this into our receiver. Okay, so we've inserted the plug into the receiver. So what we're going to do is we're going to power on our controller first. And if we power on our controller, you can see this is the model. What we're going to do is grab our battery and we're going to plug our battery into the receiver. And now you can hear the motor doing a little song. Once it's finished with that, you'll see some stuff change on here. We got some more information listed, and basically we should have throttle now. So there you go. You can hear the throttle revving up there as we increase the throttle. But what we also want to do is we also need to plug in our other channels, right, for our other servos and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to go ahead and plug in those into their corresponding slots. There are spots that are pre-programmed for ailerons, elevator, and rudder. You just need to make sure that when you put it in your receiver that you put it in the right slot. Okay, so we're going to take our rudder wire here and we're going to insert that into channel 4. And while we're at it, we're going to take the servo wire that is for our elevator and we're going to insert that into channel 2. Okay, so now that we've hooked in those two controls for our controller, or for our receiver, what we're going to do is we're going to verify that they're working. We're just going to move our rudder stick. There you can hear the rudder moving. I'm going to try the elevator. Okay, so what it looks like happening from what I can see is both our rudder and our elevator need reprogrammed so that they can be reversed. Right now they're going the wrong direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop into our controller here, and we are going to change the settings so that we can reverse those servos. So basically, in order to get to the page where you can reverse your controls and do some of that basic stuff, you're going to hit the OK button and hold that down for a second, and then you get to your menu, and then you can use the up and down buttons on the left side here to change between these settings. So if we go to System Settings and hit OK, then we can go down and we can get some stuff mainly about the model, like the model type, the model name, a whole bunch of stuff like that, stick modes, student mode, trainer mode. You can do all that kind of stuff. So if we exit this page, we can hit cancel right here. And if we hit cancel, now we can get over to the settings that we need to get to, which are the functions setup. So what we're going to do, hit OK. Now we can, actually the first one right here is our reversing. So if we hit OK, we can go down, and if we remember what our elevator and rudder channels were, we can use that to know which ones to reverse. So if we hit OK until we get to channel 2, which is right there, we know this one needs reversed. So we can put that one in reversed, and then if we go over to channel 4, we also know that that needs reversed. So now this is something that it took me a second to figure out, but if you just hit cancel and exit out of this, it won't save what you've done here. So what you actually have to do is you have to hold down the cancel button. So if you hold that down, now it goes back. If we go back into the reverse, you can see that it's saved our settings. So you just need to make sure that you hold down the cancel button whenever you make a new adjustment to your controller, to the settings. So then once we finish that, we can hit cancel until we get back to our main screen. And then if we check our controls, they are now looking just like they should be. So now we can go ahead and hook in the servo leads for our ailerons. Okay, so there are multiple ways to do this. For our ailerons, since we're using a flight test Spitfire, our ailerons are actually separate, but we've connected them with this Y connector right here, which you can see has connected both the leads together into one, so that I can just plug this into one channel of the receiver. Now different people have different setups on how they do this, but this is my preferred method because it's just easier to program inside the controller. So basically all you're going to do is you're going to take your ailerons port, and you're going to put that into channel 1. That's where it is supposed to go for the receiver. So if you put this into channel 1, okay, so now our servo's moved a little bit, so now we can go back to the controller and make sure everything's all set up. Okay, so we just plugged in our aileron. So now if we check with our aileron stick, it looks like the same thing is true as it was for both the elevator and the rudder. We're going to need to reverse it. So we're going to go into our settings. Again, we're just going to hold down OK, get to here, go to our functions setup using the up and down keys, then go to reverse, hit OK. Now we can get to all these again. So the spot that we plugged in our ailerons to is going to be channel 1, so that's what we're going to go ahead and hit, so we can use the up and down to reverse that. So down, now it's reversed. We're going to hold cancel so that it saves that setting, and then we can just hit cancel until we get back to where we were at the beginning. So now we can test our controls again, and now they're going the right direction. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and package all this up and put the wing on and make sure everything's trimmed out, and then we're just going to make sure, double check that everything's working on the controller, and we might even go fly.